Grocery bills. I think that's fascinating. How seldom you used to pay them.
Well, once a year, you got a long bill, and if you went bankrupt at that time, you paid it once a year, and then it got to be once in 6 months, then once in 3 months, and then every month. We always had a running bill, the coal, Mr. What was his name?
Not Ennis, is it?
Oh, what was that? That man's name that had the first coal yard, the Burke, Jim Burke. And he used to come with his hat and say, "I wonder if you could let me have a little money on account." Dad would look it over and say, "Thunder and lightning, I don't know anything about it, a year old. Well, I'll give you so much on account." Well, that was fine. Then he'd subtract it from the bill, and there'd be a little left over, so that would go on running, you see. And you'd keep adding to that till you got quite a sizable amount. Then he'd come again with a hat in the hand, and you'd give him some more. Always had a grocery bill that way, and the coal bill, and the feed bill, and such big bills that you had to have all the time. And of course, nobody was ever able to tell you whether they were right or wrong, because you'd have June 5th, you'd have a loaf of bread, or maybe June 17th, you'd have a oatmeal, or maybe 10 pounds of flour, 50 pounds usually. But when you got a thing that long, in fact, we used to have a book, I think I have a book yet, a leather book, and it had Fairchild and Company, Charles G. Foster, whatever they call him, which was the debtor and which was the creditor. And that you had that book with you. And when you went into the store, they marked down each item and added up and show you each day what you had. And that was pretty good. And so come the end of the year, you'd have a book full.
How could they keep on paying their expenses?
Well, they paid once a year too.
Oh, I suppose.
Wonderful.
Oh, I should say. Very trusting, too.
Well, I can well remember Arnold Constable's bill coming once a year. And Pa was so incensed when they changed it to once in 6 months, never heard of such a thing. Once in 3 months, that was awful. When it got to be once a month, that was the last of everything. Yes, a dozen napkins, $2.50. Tablecloth, a sale, you know, $3.
Well, now, would the grocery man come to the house, too, to collect, or did you go down there?
No, he would go there to market, and then he'd tell you when he wanted money. Well, I think if you were really a good business person, you paid every so many months, 6 months or so, without being asked. But the prices of things, it took a good while to make a good-sized bill. Yeast cake, 2 cents, loaf of bread, 5 cents, small size, big size, 10.
Quarter milk, 5 cents.
Quarter milk, 5 cents, yeah. And a box of oatmeal, nickel. Pound of cheese, 20 cents. Roast beef, 20 cents a pound.
Oh, imagine.
3 rib roast weighed about 8 pounds, $6.60.
Oh, I can tell you what I paid this year.
Well, I know it awful.
Oh, dear.
We had a lot of pigs one year, great big pigs, and we had them all killed, and they were dressed in the market. Had offered Uncle Thompson, who was running at the time, 11 cents a pound for them on the foot. And he took them all down in the hay wagon, all these dead creatures lying out. Got down, they wouldn't give him that much. So the market gone down and give him 4 cents. He said, to heck with that, piled all the pigs back on the hay wagon, carried them home. Hung them down in the cellar.
Oh.
We had pig after pig hanging them. The whole place was covered with grease. And so they undertook to cut them up and have them smoked, and they took the lard and cooked it in the kitchen. Everything was grease. Oh, the hams we had smoked, they were hanging every stairway. around the furnace and,
Oh, dear.
oh boy, such a mess.
You
I
don't
can
have a
remember-
smokehouse.
We didn't have a smokehouse. We used to have it done up in the valley here somewhere. I've forgotten where. I guess the Arnold.
The Arnold's probably.
Mhm.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But what that was a house for, I can tell you. My
The
grandmother,
smell.
my grandmother made head cheese and every kind of cheese you could make out of the heads and tails and pig's feet and oh, such a mess.
Oh, dear.
Well, I don't know how many we had, quite a number.
Mm.
Well, I don't remember the result. I think they were given away, finally gotten rid of somehow. Because we ate ham frequently.
You had then cows and
Oh, yeah.
pigs. What else did you have?
Whole chickens, ducks. We never had any sheep because dogs always killed sheep. We never could eat anything we raised. We were all too kind-hearted.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Tried to put a veal calf over my father, and he knew all about it. Not a bit would he look at. We used to get $1 a piece for the bob calves.
Mm.
Now you can't sell them for anything or give them away.
Oh, really? Mm.
So everything now is government.
Yeah.
Everything has to be stamped, which is a good idea, I imagine. But you used to buy a side of beef or something from the Arnold. They never had it inspected or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to slaughter them right down here, and
Right.
right near where the Baileys live.
Yeah, right there. Must have smelled. Did it?
Oh, I guess it did, but nobody cared then. They expected farm places to
Yeah.
smell.
Mm-hmm.
Now nobody can stand a load of manure going by, or they can't stand a dog barking, or a cow mooing,
Oh,
or
I
a chicken
know.
crowing. I like those sounds. I think they're home-like.
Well, I do too. I like them very much.
Good manure smell, you can't beat it.
Oh, dear. Now they want you to perfume your barn, don't they?
Yeah, put them in your barn, have them sprayed against flies and gnats and rodents.
Oh, dear.
It's a great life, you don't weaken. Well, it's suburban, and you might just as well make up your mind to it, I suppose.
Well, sad though.
It's just sad when you remember how it used to be, free and easy. In fact, in my early childhood, the road was just a clay dirt road, and we had heavy frosts and high cold winters, and then when the frost came out of the ground right below the gate, there was a very weak spot. They called it a spring hole or something, and your wheel would go right down to axle.
My heavens, how'd you get out?
Well, we didn't mind. It was all in the game.
You expected it.
Expected to get around the bog hole. Didn't expect to be so weighted on. My goodness. We didn't have to have everything, meat all cut up and tied up and ready to put in the oven. Chickens all had to be, now have to be cleaned and picked and dressed and frozen, and all you do is they're even stuffed and ready to bake. Everything comes in a container that you can use, and my goodness. We used to have that little dairy house down below the farmhouse with a spring running through it and a trough and great big tin pans. Put the milk in. Any old person would go fish like that, and take the cream off and put it in a jar and make butter. Nobody got anything, I know of.
No, you all lived to a nice, healthy, long age.
Yeah. But of course, it wasn't very sanitary, I must admit.
Did you ever make, I never heard you talk about cottage cheese. Did you ever make cottage
Oh,
cheese?
yes. Always made cottage cheese. Nobody can seem to make it now. Couldn't
No.
when I had milk. You put it in a pan, and then you put it where it's warm, and it's supposed to separate. The whey comes to the surface, yellow fluid, you know, and you pour that off, and it leaves the curds. And that was supposed to be broken up and put in a bag and allowed to drip till it was dry. And then you mixed it with rich cream and put it in the icebox.
It was good too.
Oh, you bet. But I think one of the greatest strides, the most beneficial to the housekeeper is the electric ice box, the Frigidaire. Those ice boxes certainly were a problem. The ice had to be carried in, washed off, and put in the box, and then it had to have a pan to drip, and the pan was always running over, all over everything.
Well.
And the ice boxes were made of wood, of course, lined with tin. Where they met always got rotten, and the ants got in it. So I really think the Frigidaire, what do they call them? The electric ice boxes are a wonderful stride forward. I know my family in Hartford had so much trouble with dripping all over the place and never could keep anything, and so they had a little thing built on the end of the kitchen, a little sort of a square matching the house, and a door so that the iceman drove up outside to the door and opened it and put it right in the ice box.
No, that's a good idea.
And the ice box was in this little pantry, which was off from the kitchen, and the water ran out on the bottom of it. So you got over that problem. But a hot day and the iceman didn't come, and your stuff spoiled.
How they deliver ice to you? Did they, or did you have to go get your own?
We had our own.
Oh, you had your own.
Yes, you see, we were owning around the reservoir, the Jones Woods Reservoir. We had the right to cut what we needed off the reservoir. And we used to, when it got thick enough, say from anywhere from 6 to 8, 10 inches, we got a crew together and cut up enough to fill both houses. 35 tons up at the house and 45 at the barn.
How'd you keep it?
Well, it didn't keep too well. It lasted pretty well during the summer, but it was packed in with sawdust and salt hay and that sort of thing. It was down at the farm. We had a wooden house, and then we had a double lining, and then between the lining was sawdust. They thought that would insulate. Well, it didn't keep too well, but it did well enough till long about September. We'd put it in the middle of winter, and it would freeze solid block. You'd have to chop it out. Cut the cakes 22 by 24 or 18 by 20, enough to fit right snugly in the body of the wagon or the sleigh. And we used to take it over and let it down with a rope to up by the house. It was underground, about, I should say 12, 15 feet. You had to let it down at the bottom. That was a chore getting it out.
I bet it was.
You had a block and fall and a pair of tongs, and you'd clamp them around the cake of ice, and then you'd holler, and the man below would scuttle over to the other side in case it dropped on him, and often did. But you'd pack it as well as you could, but the Revere's sacrificed keeping to looks, so he made an octagonal one. So you had to cut all the outside cakes octagonal to fit in.
That must have been a problem.
Yeah, I could see a man with an axe chopping the corners off, putting them in, and then the next one have another corner. And then when he got one layer on, he'd take an axe and smash up a cake all into fine bits and sweep it all in. Good deal of tobacco juice mixed with it. But the one at the farm didn't keep as well as this. This was cement with a lining of planks. But you see, we had a spring that rang through the milk house, and then they had a creamery outfit, Cooley Creamer they call it. You put your cream in cans, big cans, and left the lid open a little bit to let the air out. And then they had a glass on the side and a spigot, and when the cream formed, you'd open the spigot and let the milk off. That was very sanitary, because all around where it was cemented, or what do you call it, solid, there would be cracks and bits and things like that. So we had those all fitted in this, had a handle, and you cranked it up and down, and when you wanted to get the cans out, you cranked it up to the top and lifted them off, and when you wanted them cold, you threw ice in there along with the spring water, and it just came almost to the top of them, ran round them, kept them cold. But it wasn't too sanitary.
Tell me about the day that the farmhouse burned, because we definitely established that was
June,
Knox's headquarters during the Revolution.
where did they find that out?
Well, you and I decided it first, and then we corroborated it from other sources, Mr.
Well,
White Smith.
no, I think it was Mrs. Collis's book somewhat.
Well, yes, that, and then we found the newspaper article about it that I gave you, and
Well,
then, of course, Clayton
I
Smith.
had the whole page Xerox.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I've got it.
Good.
It's quite interesting, some of the items in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was June 10th, wasn't it?
I believe it was
1915.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had a summer kitchen, a little, what they call it, the summer kitchen. And they had a stove in it that went up through that, through a tile pipe. No chimney, just a big tile pipe. And the people who were in it had put a mattress against it.
Mm.
And it got overheated, and about 5 in the morning, it got on fire.
Hmm.
And
The whole thing burned down.
whole thing was 3 days burning. It was all solid oak,
Mm.
hand-hewn oak, every bit of the structure.
How'd it look? Describe how it looked, because this is going to be would be interesting for in the future to know just exactly how it did.